Psycho Dead is a third-person survival horror game that blends elements of classic horror titles like Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space. In the game, you play as a girl named Alexia who possesses powerful psychic abilities. The story revolves around her trying to escape from a secret laboratory filled with grotesque creatures and human guards. The gameplay involves solving puzzles, fighting off enemies, and using various psychic powers like telekinesis and energy blasts.
You are one of the most perfect results of the experiment. Not everyone has powers like you, Alexia.
No matter how scary the outside world is, here, I'm no different from a lab rat. I'm ready to take risks for my freedom.
Echoes of the Living is a survival horror game heavily inspired by classic titles like Resident Evil and Silent Hill. Set in 1996, the story unfolds in a quiet European town engulfed in a mysterious fog, leading to the appearance of terrifying creatures such as zombies and mutated animals. Players control two characters, Laurel, a police officer, and Liam, an ex-Special Forces soldier, each with their own storyline as they try to escape the city. The Mute House is a survival horror game that draws heavy inspiration from classic titles like Resident Evil and Alone in the Dark. The story follows Emily, a policewoman investigating the disappearance of her sister. Her search leads her to a mysterious mansion where she must navigate eerie environments, solve puzzles, and manage scarce resources. The game features a mix of exploration, puzzle solving, and survival combat against both zombies and other nightmarish creatures, all while trapped in a haunted mansion. Dollhouse. Behind the Broken Mirror is a first-person horror adventure game that follows the story of Eliza D'Amour, a once famous singer who has lost her memories after a collapse during a performance. Players will explore two twisted realities, one in the present and the other behind a broken mirror, using the guidance of experimental medicine to uncover the mystery of her past. The game offers a chilling atmosphere featuring haunting music, vintage noir visuals, and encounters with terrifying doll-like enemies. Shadowman Darque Legacy is an upcoming action horror game developed by Blowfish Studios. The game revives the iconic Shadowman franchise, known for its blend of voodoo mysticism and supernatural horror, building on the legacy of the original Shadowman comics and video games. In this installment, you play as Jack Boniface, the latest in the Boniface family line to bear the Shadowman mantle, tasked with protecting the veil between life and death. Cult of Blood is a survival horror adventure set in a remote village, inspired by a true story. Players take on the role of a police officer who stumbles upon a sinister cult during an investigation. The game features strategic combat against both human cultists and supernatural entities, and utilizes a classic fixed camera perspective with modern tank controls. The atmosphere is dark and intense, with a focus on narrative-driven gameplay and environmental exploration. Players will need to solve puzzles and manage their resources to survive the horrors lurking in the village.
Because you're fighting for the side of the light.
The Sinking City 2 takes a sharp turn from its predecessor by embracing full survival horror mechanics while retaining the Lovecraftian narrative elements. Set in the decaying city of Arkham, players will explore a semi-open world filled with flooded environments, decaying mansions, and terrifying supernatural creatures. Unlike the first game, which leaned heavily into detective work, the sequel focuses more on combat and survival, although investigation will remain an optional feature for uncovering secrets and lore. The Thing Remastered is a faithful restoration of the 2002 third-person survival horror shooter based on John Carpenter's iconic 1982 film The Thing. Developed by Night Dive Studios, this remaster enhances the original game with updated models, textures, animations, and atmospheric effects, running up to 4K resolution at 120 frames per second on modern platforms. The game continues the story after the events of the movie, where you control Captain J.F. Blake and lead a team to investigate the horrors that took place at U.S. Outpost Number 31. Nightmare House Reimagined is a fully reimagined version of the classic Nightmare House 2. Originally a popular Half-Life 2 mod developed by We Create Stuff, the game has been rebuilt from the ground up using Unreal Engine 5 with revamped story elements, updated mechanics, and plenty of new content. Players will explore a vastly expanded version of the original haunted house with new rooms, secrets, and dangers lurking around every corner. The game aims to deliver an intense, action-packed first-person horror experience where you must use your trusty axe to fight enemies and solve physics-based puzzles as you unravel the house's mysteries. The Occultist is an upcoming first-person psychological horror game set to release in 2025. In this game, you play as Alan Rebels, a paranormal investigator tasked with exploring the eerie island of Godstone to uncover the mysterious disappearance of his father. Godstone was once home to a macabre cult that performed sinister rituals, and now it's filled with dark secrets and supernatural entities that Alan must face or avoid using his paranormal abilities and a mystical pendulum. Witches of the New World is a third-person action-adventure game with Souls-like elements set in a dark fantasy version of 17th century Salem. Players assume the role of Jedediah Hopkins, a witch finder tasked with investigating the supernatural events following the infamous Salem witch trials. Jedediah discovers a sinister cult, plotting to unleash hellish creatures and take control of Salem.
My female evil tempted my better angel from my side and would corrupt my saint to be a devil, wooing his purity with her foul pride. And when that my angel returned, suspect I may yet, not directly to
Jurassic Park Survival is an upcoming single-player action-adventure game developed by Saber Interactive. Set right after the events of the original Jurassic Park movie from 1993, you play as Dr. Maya Joshi, an InGen scientist stranded on Isla Nublar. The goal is to survive the deadly dinosaurs that have taken over the island while trying to escape. The gameplay combines intense cinematic action sequences with resource management as you navigate the island's dangerous wildlife.
Is anyone there?
Graft is a post-cyberpunk survival horror RPG from the developers at Harebrained Schemes, known for their work on Shadowrun and Battletech. The game is set on a vast, decaying space station called the Ark, where players must navigate through haunting environments filled with dark mysteries and terrifying enemies. One of the core mechanics of the game is grafting, where players scavenge parts from defeated enemies to attach to their own bodies, gaining new abilities while also inheriting fragments of the enemy's memories. We Harvest Shadows is an emotional first-person narrative game blending farming simulation with psychological horror. You take on the role of Garrett, a man who exiles himself to an abandoned farm, burdened by personal trauma and believing the world is better without him. As Garrett, you'll manage the farm, care for livestock, and perform daily tasks to improve your property. However, eerie and unsettling occurrences unfold during the quiet nights, gradually unraveling a terrifying mystery that Garrett must face. is an upcoming action-adventure game developed by Silent Lamb Studio and published by Madmind Studio. The game takes place in an underwater world where players embody a siren, a powerful mermaid-like creature tasked with hunting dangerous sea creatures and uncovering ancient secrets. The gameplay involves exploration, survival, and combat against mythical beasts like the Kraken, Spinosaurus, and even a Megalodon. Becrowned is a surreal survival horror game that draws inspiration from classic titles like Silent Hill. In the game, you explore a terrifying world that straddles the line between reality and dreams. Players take control of Richard Torrance, a man whose journey is filled with themes of punishment and regret. The gameplay includes exploration, solving complex puzzles, and fighting grotesque monsters with limited resources. The atmosphere is dark and eerie, with a retro visual style, and the story unfolds in non-linear fashion with multiple endings depending on your decisions.